happening.
Yeah, first game, Dignitas banned the LeBlanc, Thresh, and Syndra on blue side. The question is, does the Thresh make it through for Biofrost? Because you're going, this guy is just too good at too many playmaking supports. Do you ban that again, or does the Xayah jump up on the board? Boom.
Xayah's there, not allowing Doublelift to play that again. The disengage potential, the power to make yourself untargetable for a moment, there's a lot that it brought, and Doublelift was never once even remotely stopped on it.
I mean, when you have a composition and you go, okay, we can't reach this guy, and it's a draft problem where they picked it, and we had already picked a few things that couldn't reach it, so you can't let that happen again.
Right. Very difficult to get yourself out of one of those situations after you're already realizing that you're knee-deep in one. So it will be LeBlanc, Syndra, and Xayah, the bans from Dignitas. TSM taking Kennen, Galio, and Zac off the table, as Shrimp will be on the Lee Sin, reprising that role from game number 1.
Yeah, TSM had banned the Elise last time on blue side, and then what they ended up doing is the Lee Sin was still first pick, even with the Elise taken off the table and now on the table. So it just shows that Shrimp's priority is Lee Sin first, then Elise.
Draft resembling what it looked like in game number 1 so far, because we're going to see Doublelift on the Caitlyn for a second time. We're going to see Shrimp on the Lee Sin for a second time.
Yeah, may see the Elise come through here for Svenskeren, or he could go for something like Ivern and they start running another composition where it's about the shielding, but no, we're going to have him on a more aggressive jungler again.
Yep, the Elise locked in. 2 very powerful early game junglers, 2 big playmakers, cocoons, kicks, all sorts of fun stuff. Seeing who can out-jungle the other in this third and final match. Now, what do you want if you're Dignitas for these next couple of picks? Still plenty of things left open.
Yeah, I think you take your 80 carry, and you may be able to take your top laner if you're going for a cheeky, like, Fiora pick here, and being like, well, Kennen's out of the mix. What else is in here as well? I mean, you could play the Renekton into the Fiora, but
there's no way they picked this blind. There's no way they picked this blind. I'm sorry, crowd. Blind pick Urgot?
It's Keen.
Maybe as a counter.
Keen's got to hover this against Bjergsen just to show it. Oh yeah, this was banned against them in the second phase, both games. So they were not letting Big on TSM's side have this Zyra. So now they have the Ashe Zyra lane, they have the catch, they have the pick potential, and now this is going to be really interesting to see what happens here, because Big had a fantastic game 1, honorable mention for player of the game there behind Shrimp. And then game 2 had the most deaths on his team by far on the Braum.
Really underwhelming in game number 2, but we'll have to see if TSM's fears of that Zyra so far will be substantiated this game. Renekton locked in this time for TSM. Got to see Someday play it last time around. It's going to be Haunter today.
And now I expect a Fiora ban to come through.
We'll see. Got 2 bans to do it with. Shen is the one that they want to prioritize a little bit harder than the Fiora for now.
Yep, Shen, a champion that can actually answer the split push later on in the game and builds enough armor that he feels really comfortable. And Someday did have a pretty good Shen as well. You're looking at a lot of engage here from Dignitas already, so you can pretty much pick whatever you want to round this composition out, but you would want some AoE damage, or at least a split push. It could be a 1-3-1. Like, they could really go pretty much anywhere with this comp from Dignitas because they have the core of engage. So you can always really start fights. Like, they could even go for a 1-3-1 with like an Echo Fiora. Really just, I would say, just a strong core again.
By the way, another game where Ori and Syndra are banned out, not bailed out, but Cassiopeia banned away means TSM is thinking about Taliyah.
Well, I think you banned the Taliyah then. And when they were banning previously were things like Syndra Orianna, Orianna Lulu. Lulu's still on the table if Biofrost wants it. Now they got to pick between a few things like the Lulu, Tom Kench, because Tom Kench would counter, but the Taliyah would just be kind of that fish out of water, the really awkward position where they pick Taliyah and then you don't have the Cassiopeia to play into it.
Yep. The Taliyah ban comes through.
Great. His walls were good.
Yeah. Dignitas agreeing with you. They don't want to be cut off in the jungle by those again. They don't want to be blocked away for multiple seconds from objectives. Ooh. TSM grabbing themselves the karma.
Yeah, so they value the shove more than they value the protection of something like a Lulu or even the Tom Kench, which would seed the lane, but make sure that the Ashe arrows don't work. So they're just going with Biofrost having some at least shoving power to match the Zyra early.
But remember, this isn't going to have the same playmaking potential that we saw from Biofrost in the last game. You have to look for somebody else to start those things off. As Malzahar
is
locked in.
That's a potentially blind Malzahar. They don't know if that's Karma mid or not, but there have been so many mid lane bans, and Malzahar has jumped up in priority, jumped up in
really
win rate.
strong right now.
He is incredibly strong. They changed it so that his Voidlings now are a system that stacks based on your spell usage, and there's the Fiora I was talking about, baby. We're going to have
Dial
pick
points
comp.
for someday. And Keen, one thing that you talked about, I can't remember exactly what the words were, but sometimes you see LCS pros very slow to adapt to new champion picks, right? Sometimes if something comes into power, you wait and you see. Especially the last time Malzahar got popular, right? It was Faker who played it. Everybody else follows suit, and after that, it's 100% pick ban. Well, Keen's the type of guy who can sometimes pick something a little bit strange, sometimes bring something special out.
Yeah, Keen is always playing just these oddball champions in solo queue and trying to find those counters, and when he does, he brings them out. But right now, this is a blind pick Malzahar in a situation where they had a Karma. Bjergsen now on Karma mid, going to be protecting Doublelift, who had a standout game, but now they have playmaking with Biofrost's Bard. So if that Zyra blows Flash, they're in a bad position.
Right. The Bard having the potential to also bind her to her own plants.
Yep. Do want to talk about the comps overall, though. Dignitas's you could get really excited about. A lot of pick potential here with Malzahar, Ashe, Zyra, and even the Lee Sin. So they have pick, and then they also have Someday on Fiora, which I don't think you can go wrong with Someday on Fiora.
Absolutely not.
Whereas TSM, Wave Clear, Siege, little bit of pick potential as well, but that's mostly going for the Siege. I feel like junglers gotta look top early. You gotta look top, and post level 6, start looking mid, especially if you're Dignitas.
Top lane was the one I was most excited about seeing the matchup between coming into this series, and I feel like in game number 3, Hansa Renekton versus Someday Fiora is just the finale we need to make this series end in the most stylish way possible. Loading on to Summoner's Rift now for the final time between these two teams. TSM or Dignitas. One's walking away with the win. They both want it to be them. Summoning platform gate about to go down. You can hear the crowd behind us. And the voices seem to be loudly resonating for the boys in red this time around.
It's going to be difficult, though. They have to make sure that Someday does not get off the ground. They also have to know how to play against this Malzahar mid.
Right.
Which, to be completely frank, is very difficult to do because he's just a walking ball of damage now with the base damage increase on his ultimate. His ultimate face laser now does damage directly to that person instead of just the Doom Jacuzzi that you were talking about with the percent HP at the bottom. The Nether Grasp does so much base damage. And then the Voidlings were changed to a system of you cast spells, you start getting charges, so you have to cast more spells, and then when you release them, they all come out at once. You can summon 3 instantaneously, and then just one combo at level 6 can 100 to 0 somebody.
Break it down, Keen. He knows what's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Wanting to show off those Malzahar moves for everybody. Cleanse also being run by him to avoid any potential CC problems as the game goes on. And talking about Cleanse, one thing you got to bring up about Malzahar too is he essentially puts a QSS tax on the entire enemy team, because even if you don't normally want to itemize it, you almost have to.
Yeah, but I feel like when there's an Ashe on the team, you're like, okay, now they're splitting the tax, right?
Yeah.
So you're okay buying a QSS as a mid laner, even second or third item here, just to not die to the Malzahar or the Ashe arrows flying at you. So the tax is definitely real. I would say that it's split a little bit here because you want QSS in this situation pretty much no matter what.
Right. And also, a lot of TSM, Haunter's the only guy you're looking at that's going to end up tanky. Everybody else, you can have an Elise that's moderately tanky, but that's still not something like what you would see from a Zac or a true tank jungler.
Yo, what's happening here? Shrimp did blue, had a leash, going into red buff. This is going to be finding Svenskeren. Didn't smite. He's going to try to smite it away from Svenskeren.
Oh, that's some
Q
good
now.
cheese right
Now,
there.
there he goes.
And he gets it. Shrimp with the pathing.
He did this. He's done this multiple times. Almost every game, he's got some type of weird, oddball, cheesy route that you can't really prepare for or expect. And look at this. He's gone straight mid for Bjergsen.
More cheddar for Team Dignitas. Forcing out that flash from Bjergsen.
And now he's going to have to do something about his red buff. His bottom lane is shoved in. They're pinging on this red buff here because they don't hit level 3 yet. Svenskeren's run all the way over here. Doesn't have buffs, though. And he'll be up against the double buffed Lee Sin, who's going to do his Raptors first.
Getting the level 3.
There it is. He's already hit level 3. Now if he shows up, could be bad, but it is going to take him some time to do this. And Svenskeren
Does he
does
actually
have
finish the entire camp?
Yeah, he's like not too much wiser about this, and Svenskeren will be able to take this. So yeah.
All right, buffs will ultimately be equalized since Svenskeren will get himself back over the wall with the blast cone, as Bjergsen is controlling the mid lane for now, utilizing the early power of the Karma with the Inner Flame.
Yeah, and the reason that Svenskeren's able to go for that is because his bottom lane had actually shoved all the way in. Double Lift and Biofrost, despite not being the Zyra and Ashe, were shoving into the turret. So you can see they got a ward in the Tri-Brush and were able to see if they collapsed, and they had the inside track, whereas if they were... it was reversed and it was shoved, then he really couldn't go for that play because Big could collapse, Mod could collapse, and not miss any experience doing so.
Eyes on this top lane, too. The matchup, very volatile between two carry-type champions. Renekton winning early, as you would expect Renekton to do. But as time goes on, remember that someday on the Fiora will scale into this just ridiculous monster of a champion. So much true damage, so much mobility, so much healing, too.
And this is a someday champion that I'm excited to see. This guy on carries is honestly just a work of art.
I mean, the story of Someday when he came over to the NA LCS, as he gets into the 1v1 with Haunter, trying to proc more of those vitals.
Haunter has W.
Haunter trying to save it and make the play. The riposte to slow him down. Oh, blood! Dunks him down 1v1.
Was waiting for Shrimp to get there, but that's the flash down from Haunter. Gonna try to heal up, missed the Q. Haunter with the outplay.
Dialing on him.
I was saying it's a work of art, but we just got to see the TSM Mona Lisa.
That was exactly what Haunter needed to do in this third and final game. 32 to 23 CS, as well as the play comes in bottom side. Can they actually make it? Big gonna be taken low. Damage coming through. Svenskeren gonna be forced to repel up. Double lift now, the one who's actually very low. Dignitas almost turns that around, but TSM will not go that deep.
And right now, Shrimp is going to get the Raptor camp for his troubles because he saw Elise on the bottom side there. But this top lane, Someday gets the vitals, just playing for those, but he's got a minion wave that's damaging him this whole time. And then he walks away, and the flash Q with Fury. And hold on, we're
right back into another fight.
Yeah.
And Haunter stunned Someday as he was dashing, so he couldn't just immediately hit the riposte and have that kablam reaction. I don't know if that was intended or not, but that was exactly what you would want to see there playing around the riposte.
Yeah, both these are instantaneous in terms of their reactions. So the riposte has to come out when you're anticipating the W to come through. Or if the Renekton is just walking at you with the W up.
It's like, okay, I can see the big green thing around his mouth. He's probably trying to stun me.
Ah, there's the flash. They got it out. Svenskeren with the visit top lane after the Q used from Someday.
Now we're going to make even more moves. Haunter just takes some damage for his troubles, though. Someday not too afraid. He still has the riposte, so he knows that if there was a stun attempt from Haunter, he would be able to resist that.
Yeah, and I feel like you have to visit this top lane if you're these junglers early. I talked about it, where this is a lane that you want to upset either way. When you have a Fiora, give it some jungle attention early. Shrimp was just a little bit late, and Someday got outplayed.
That's always the story with Fiora. If you're on her team, you want her to be so far ahead that nobody can deal with her 1v1. If you're against her, you need to shut her down, so that's not the reality.
Yeah, and it's not even like a Riven where it's like super snowbally or anything like that and it has to be ahead. It's like the Fiora can be okay in the lane by herself, but really you just want to give it some insurance, right? You want to give it that push.
Right.
Get that swing set going.
TSM with that 600 gold lead for themselves very early on in this game.
Oh, he parried it!
Onto the stun.
Got level 6.
Now Someday might be able to make this one happen. A grand challenge is issued. Someday is hastened, catching up after his opponent. The dominance is there, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. The heal comes out. Haunter
the counter
around with Svenskeren. Someday still chasing, grabbing the kill. Now, can he make even more happen?
He's waiting for Lee Sin.
Vitals being proc. Shrimp making his way into the fight. The repel goes up, but can it come down in time? Yep, he's got Bjergsen nearby.
And then there's the solo kill back when the flashes are down. Able to turn it around, and we're talking about a phage to another Doran. Just the difference there in items, and look at that double lift. Oh,
so very low. Ashe Zyra, the damage potential in that lane.
Oh, and even going for the Frostfang as his first item there. So Big was just looking for more, looking for a root. Not gonna get a headshot though in return.
Unlucky. Someday and Haunter both getting solo kills on each other though. Look at that repose. That's a game changer.
Yeah, front vital into bottom vital doesn't matter though. Gonna get all 4 of them here, and he's just faster. because of the fact that you get that extra movement speed when you're around people with the Grand Challenge. Then he gets out alive too, and now he has his own phage.
I feel like Riposte is probably one of the swingiest abilities in the game in terms of the impact it has on a fight. The difference between a missed Riposte and a connected Riposte is night and day.
Oh yeah, it's huge because you don't build tanky at all anymore on Fiora. Like legitimately,
Tankiest you get to Black Cleaver.
Yeah, and now it used to be you go for something like maybe a Spirit Visage, etc. Now it's like just go Death's Dance. Way more AD, add 80 more AD, add more true damage to yourself, cooldown reduction, and like the fact that you get to have double lifesteal items, pretty disgusting. So yeah, you really have to hit those ripostes and make them count.
And as soon as he doesn't find that one, he immediately has to back off. When that tool is down, you are significantly less threatening because Haunter now doesn't need to have any fear about the stun being blocked.
Coming up top though, look like Shrimp. Gonna try to avoid wards here.
Shrimp going around, making sure that he avoids that most common vision path, just like you said. Sunday goes in, and this is where you're going to see the fight happen. The Grand Challenge again coming out. There's a lot of minions putting damage onto Someday, though.
He's going to go over and get the
push. No blast Haunter. No blast cone to get out means that Haunter is caught between a rock and a hard place, and Lee Sin will shut him down. As Shrimp grabs himself a kill, the second one for Dignitas this game, and Haunter's second death.
Gotta visit that top lane, and that's exactly what Dignitas have started to do now. They've actually tried to avoid the wards, and Sunday's in a position now where I talked about it in Champions, like this pick was coming from the second phase. I even thought they might pick it in their second phase instead of going for the Ashe Zyra, but it didn't get banned away. The Shen was a higher priority for TSM.
Very early Ocean Drake for TSM this game. Previously, we've seen the Elemental Drakes only start to come online around 15 minutes or later in games 1 and 2, but here in game number 3, they see the opportunity with the enemy jungler topside to seize that one early.
All right, and now Shrimp is in a really good position to either go top or mid. He can go top and keep bullying Haunter, but that lane might already be a bit donezo. You go mid, Keen has that ultimate, the face laser, and the combo now on that Malzahar to really blow somebody up.
Down onto Sven. Not really going to be followed up with anything just yet.
And it looks like it was an Ashe arrow from afar from Laud, who's down 2 levels bottom lane. Like, they are just getting destroyed. And the reason that he's down 2 levels as well is part of the fact that Biofrost is roaming so much. Back when we saw that root land on a double lift, he was actually 1v2ing. And Bard was roaming around, but they had vision control of the river, so you don't know if Bard is still there or if he's going to ward at any place.
It's very dangerous to go over-aggressive in a 2v1 if you don't know he's there.
But if you don't go aggressive, you give that AD carry so much space to just do what Double Lift has been doing and just flex and like kind of puff yourself up like there is the Bard there and play as if you do have the help.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't, unless you get that vision control.
Or you take a gamble and you get lucky.
Sometimes that's the plan, right? You've got to go for the 50-50. But TSM has decided to rotate multiple members up towards this top side.
Spotted by the
clear out the control ward. But they're not really going to accomplish a whole lot else, at least right now. Keen on the Malzahar, still not having made any plays just yet, but like you mentioned, level 9 with the flash and the ultimate both up means that if he can get himself in the right spot, the playmaking potential is very much there.
Yeah, but you got to watch out for these this CS right now. Bjergsen already up 30.
And that's against Malzahar.
Uh-huh. He's up about 600 gold already. Basically, he's been CSing better than him to the point that it's worth 2 kills now. And not to be saying, like, Keen is CSing poorly by any means, because he's at 93 at almost 12 minutes. Bjergsen is just at 120 at 12 minutes, already on that 10 per 1 mark.
Yeah, Bjergsen CS, absolutely insane so far this game. Sunday and Haunter again into these 1v1s. But it's been Scarin who makes his way up into top lane this time, as Shrimp also wanders up through the river.
Gang, top. They all know how to play the game.
Good.
Let's see what happens.
They all know how to play the game. We would hope.
So, Shrimp, they try to go in and hold on, though. They call the bluff. They win it!
Double lift taken down. Big's Ignite tick, the thing that actually finishes him off.
Biofrost was roaming. This time they saw him on a ward. And look at this here. Haunts are diving, giving away that there's Svenskeren. But look at that, Shrimp's there too. Here comes the TP.
A TP's gonna be coming in. Someday does not riposte correctly, but Haunter is already dead. Svenskeren is very far forward. TSM trying to join the fight. Keen's gonna be taking the blast cone. There's no way out for Sven. That's a dead spider, man.
Whoa. 2-1-2 for Someday in the top lane now. He is rolling in gold.
That's not where you want a Fiora to be if you're going up against him. TSM has a problem to deal with Someday now.
And this right here, you see? They just saw him with a ward, and then Laud ducks into the bush so you have less reaction time. Flash, root, and that's perfectly played from the Dignitas bottom lane after they saw Biofrost on the ward that he just walked back over.
That's what you got to do. That's what we were talking about, right? As soon as you know that he's not right there, that's your limited trigger pull window.
And that was perfect, too, because they dipped out of vision to do it. So Laud executed that correctly, and then Big with the flash forward as well. Bjergsen are not going to be able to get the second
Very, very strong right now with the damage from this Karma. Also has the QSS now. One thing that I want to point out and keep track of is every time those things are bought, who's buying them? Biofrost puts some damage onto Laud. Tempered Fate comes down. Double lift right there, throwing down the traps as now Svenskeren going to be taking some damage too. Shrimp wanting to make the kill. He gets it. But what else is going to transpire here? It's 2 for 1 so far. Haunter grabbing the kill onto Shrimp as Keen gets a kill now as well. Haunter trying to find more opportunity here. Someday backing himself out. 3 dead on the side of Dig, only 2 on TSM.
Yeah, 3 for 2, and now they get to push the bottom, and this lane is so close to going down, and that's first turret for TSM.
Good play from TSM there, outplaying their opponents, winning the fight, getting the objective reward for it, as Dignitas tried to equal this up here in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Keen, he's been down in CS, so that was a little bit of desperation where I got to farm the wave before I roam, and Bjergsen was way ahead of him in terms of attendance. You can see here, Bjergsen already playing to this side, and then Biofrost goes in, goes after Laud here, and tries to set it up his double lift. Wants to take this turret before the play happens. Throws down the Tempered Fate. Then Scaren's there. Bjergsen's coming around from the flank. Throws down the Q and gets Big on this side. And then the TP from Someday comes in. But at this point, you already have a super low jungler. He gets picked up. 4v2, and Biofrost flashes over to try and get away. Right into Keen. And then it's 2-on-2. So it was the fact that Bjergsen was there flanking earlier made it so that that play went the way that it did.
League of Legends is a game of seconds, sometimes even fractions of seconds. Just being there slightly earlier can be the difference between a one fight and a loss. TSM happy with that outcome, but now Biofrost in some danger yet again. The kick comes out onto Svenskeren, who's finding death number 3 this game. 1 death every 5 minutes for Svenskeren so far. Compare that to Shrimp, 3-1-2 on the Lee Sin, having a great game for himself.
Yeah, Svenskeren has been looking pretty bad this entire series, whereas Shrimp has actually been looking pretty good. That second game where he didn't get that early kill off was just kind of an overextension of the whole team, and Big included. But really, Big in their first win, and so far, doing great again with setting up the early plays.
And you know, we were talking about the Fiora and how scary it was with how strong he looked earlier, but it's actually Haunter, thanks to the turret gold as well as what he was able to acquire from getting the kills teleporting bottom, who has the gold advantage over Someday right now. Not only that, he's got the completed Black Cleaver. Someday does not. Big power advantage for him there.
Yeah, interesting that Someday is sitting on 1,200 gold, so he's pretty close, but still advantage for Haunter in terms of gold.
Top lane tier 1 falls. TSM go up 2-0 in terms of the turret count. Still down in kills, but that's not really what matters. It's all about building up that gold, building up that pressure, those leads. They got themselves almost a 1,000 gold lead to talk about right now, but Someday will continue that split push pressure in the bottom lane as Laud is sent top to answer those waves. TSM now looking for Rift Herald, piling more objectives onto their already impressive.
Well, this will get contested a bit here. Biofrost actually going to catch a ward. Got him.
Biofrost not getting anything else for the time being, though. Big Laud and the rest of Dignitas moving in to cut these guys off. The Rift Herald will reset. Not very patient.
Yeah. Actually, it's very patient. You can pull it very far, to be honest. But yeah, my big thing here, though, is I like that Dignitas are looking for that because they have so much pick. This is a pick composition, and the fact that they can just throw out an arrow like this, hits Biofrost. Don't know if they'll follow up, though. What the?
Double lift taking a lot of damage. The Stranglethorn's nearly going to be sealing his fate as Keen is the only one to die so far.
Someday off on the side, but this is 5-man strong for TSM. Talk about siege comp at the very beginning. This
barreling
exactly what they want.
Taking that tier 1, that's going to round out the last piece of that outer ring for them. Gives them that much more map control, that much more opportunity to push into enemy territory, put wards down in the Dignitas jungle, catch them out, and stay one step ahead of the rotation.
And this looks like Bjergsen got a mantra Q on him. Yes, he did. Actually ate both parts, and then he gets ultied. And that's all she wrote. Got
it was actually
flash out
two spells that killed him.
Yep.
Q, the second half of Q, and then the ace in the hole.
Yep, that was a flash there too. So he flashed late. Didn't think he would actually hit him on the second part. Blew up and definitely gave them that kill on the ability to push that turret. And this has just been kind of, I want to say, lopsided. Svenskeren has 1 kill and 9 deaths in the last 2 games. And if you look at the bottom side of the map, like, so basically Svenskeren has not been doing well up in this matchup against Shrimp, who has been, doing things like this, where he's soloing the Rift Herald, trying to make some plays. But then the bottom lane, Doublelift's already up, 1,400 gold. Doublelift has been crushing Lod in the lane phase, whether or not he has Biofrost next to him.
TSM wanting to stop this Rift Herald attempt from Dignitas.
Oh, is this death
but
number
it's
4?
Svenskeren, who's low again. He falls right back to the ground on top of the silence from the Malzahar. Haunter's in the pit. He's got himself silenced, but he's shielded up, gets back to his team. Already popped his ulti. Rift Herald low, secured by Shrimp, but Haunter has the damage. They take him down. Bjergsen with the kill credit, but suppression onto Haunter. Barely going to be kept alive. Can he actually get away? I don't think so. TSM now have lost 2 in exchange for 1 and a Rift Herald.
And top turret.
And they've got to back away.
Yeah, top turret here. Someday can just walk up there and put the finishing touches on this thing because it's almost dead.
They'll focus on that rapidly, making sure to take it down before anybody can get in position to stop him. That's plenty of money going into Dignitas' pockets. That's going to even this game up that much more, get this back down to about a 1,000 gold difference. And actually, Zyrene, this game has been the biggest early gold difference so far in the whole series.
Yeah, just got evened up again, but that was just a massive amount of damage there onto Svenskeren, who then drops back down into Keen's Q. And one of the things about Malzahar is that that Q ends up being it ends up being a 2-second silence, but Keen already has CDR. He had the blue buff running, so he was actually at about a 3-second cooldown on that. You saw he hit him with it, he repelled, hit him with it again when he came down from it. Just so good. And the fact that you don't have to max Voidlings anymore, you max E and Q on the Malzahar in mid, means that you just get that much more damage in these teams. What the pow? That was an absurd amount of damage.
I told you I'm always surprised at how much it hurts.
I'm usually like, okay, it's going to take a third. That was legitimately just almost half.
Rift Herald doing its job. What was the HP? 1,500 out of 3,500.
1,534 damage, and it killed it.
3/7. What is 3/7 in terms of percent? Like 42 or something? Yeah, something like that.
Don't make me do math on stream.
All right, we're not going to do math on stream. It's like 40-something. We're good. I think it's 42. So that's a lot of damage coming out from a Rift Herald. That's Dignitas getting themselves more money, keeping this game as close as they possibly can, staying relevant. 2-1 and 4 on your Fiora. Black Cleavers on both her and the Lee Sin. Shrimp with a bruiser build of his own. Sometimes you see Lee Sins go for more of like a Hex Drinker into a death
he had
play.
Tiamat last time, too.
Shrimp likes to play aggro. You said it yourself. This is the kind of guy who will carry the game from the jungle.
Yeah, but now that he has that early CDR, he's looking for those kickbacks.
Oh, ooh,
another
not Svenskeren again. Big getting the kill credit. A Shrimp jumps back over the wall, keeps himself alive. 5 deaths for Svenskeren, almost half of TSM's total.
Him and Haunter are really just racking up those deaths right now. And are they going to call the Baron right now? They have the Mountain Break. That's a Baron call.
That is a brave call. If I've seen one, they can do it quickly. It's actually being shredded pretty fast. Oh, with a nice block for Q. Tempered Fate locking him down. Big having to escape from Bjergsen. Lod turning his attention over the other way. They're trying to focus the Baron down. They got to be making the call. They secure the objective, but now can they win the fight? Haunts are going to be chasing after Lod. Suppression onto Biofrost. Over the wall they go, and out they are.
Haunter maybe looking for something. Can he get it? Nope.
Not today. Man, not today. The Baron empowered recall is way too fast.
This series just turned those Dignitas memes of Dignitas Baron lol. No lull this time.
No, this is not Dig Baron lull. This is Dig Baron PogChamp. This is some real Baron calls happening right now for Dignitas.
Almost the same call last time. Like, this is becoming a broken record of the Dignitas Baron doesn't seem to be a thing. These calls are clean. It's risky slightly, but they know the jungler's down. They know it can't be smite stolen. And now Shrimp 2 levels up over Svenskeren, so even the next one even if there's a potential steal, still has a slight advantage there.
2 Ocean Drakes now in TSM's pocket, so they've got that extra regeneration if they find themselves stuck in these siege and anti-siege scenarios for a while. You've already got a Caitlyn, which is very effective at those to begin with, but now you've got the Ocean Drake regeneration as well. Someday on this Fiora, now with Ravenous Hydra completed, we mentioned it in Champion Select, Zyrene. You said focus the top lane early if you're the jungler. Try to get the Fiora matchup rolling if you're Dignitas. Someday's in a spot where he can do someday things on this pick.
And now you kind of look at it and go, okay, what is this Renekton going to accomplish here? 2 levels down in the split push. Very close to actually getting his level there. So 1 level down in the split push. Swoosh. And then the rest of it is pick. You're going to get out split pushed by the Fiora. Your team has better pick and engage. The Tempered Fate isn't as reliable as like a flash ultimate from the Malzahar. You can get in there. And now TSM, the Baron going over to Dignitas, really have to be careful, but whoa! All right. 0 reason to be there, by the way.
No, none at all. Big gets himself picked off. Costly mistake for Dignitas. It's going to slow down their push machine. Next 25 seconds, Big's out of the picture. So that means by the time they get up and running again, they're only going to have 1 minute of Baron left to push with. Going to limit the effectiveness overall of that power play as Someday just takes up his spot in bottom lane, continues the split pushing. See a Null Magic Mantle in the inventory now. Could be working towards a potential QSS of his own.
Yeah. A big caught out there by walking too far forward. Looked like he was maybe looking for something cheeky as people came out of the base, but if you're looking for something like that, Laud had Hawk Shot the whole time. You can just call for that instead of putting your body at risk.
If you're looking for cheese, you've always got to respect the fact that you could end up just putting yourself in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
And they take down
the risk they take.
Yeah, it's a risk that you have to take. It's part of the cheese strategy, right? Cheese will either win spectacularly or lose spectacularly. So if you go for that surprise positioning, sometimes it backfires.
Yeah, every time we say cheese, I feel like Freak's going to talk to us after this and be like, there's no such thing as cheese. It's alternative strategies.
Which are cheese.
Because if something's cheese, it eventually might become age and become a real strat. Hold on!
Oh, Svenskeren again caught out. The arrow from Laud will seal his fate, and Shrimp will pick up the money.
Man, Svenskeren is now 2-12 in the last 2 games. They have really just been kind of milking this jungle bank.
And let's go back to what we talked about earlier in the game, Zyrene. Between Ashe Arrows and Malzahar ults, QSS is a very necessary purchase for a lot of the people on this side for TSM. And we even mentioned, we said Haunser. That's the guy who's going to be tanky. That's the one who might not have to worry about it. Everybody else on this team, they're a prime target. And that includes Svenskeren's Elise, who, by the way, has Runic Echoes and the parts of a Leandries.
Yeah, but I feel like he should be able to outplay it in a sense with the repel, but at the same time, he doesn't always have a repel target and will come right back down. But he's been hit by a lot of arrows here and caught unawares. So seriously, we talked about Laud in game 1 with the 3K damage and it looked pretty bad. He's on arrow duty again. He's on engage duty. He's down a ton in gold right now. Actually, it's, oh wow, he was down 1,600 previously. He's only down about 200, even 100 now. So he's caught up with all those picks that he's been making, plus the Baron gold and turret gold just falling their way.
Trap line set up by TSM, trying to make this siege difficult, but it's Biofrost who's going to find himself stunned up for a second. The damage from the Zyra plants, very, very scary. Even if you're hanging out underneath your own turret, they can do so much so quickly. Doublelift will do everything in his power to hold this line. Still 2-1-3 on the Caitlyn. CS advantage over his lane opponent. Baron power play of plus over 4,000 gold for Dignitas. Remember, this was a game where TSM had the biggest lead in the series so far, up until that Dig Baron call, and then everything just flipped on its head.
Yeah, but it's the picks coming through, and I feel like Dignitas catching Svenskeren out multiple times, back to back to back, gave them a chance to do the Baron and get out with very minimal casualties.
Very true. One thing that I'm also taking interest with, a lot of times, when you look at mid lane Karmas, you either see them go with the supportive style builds, or you see them go with the heavy AP, my Q's gonna take half your health build. I'm kind of seeing a half and half from Bjergsen here. You got the Athene's Unholy Grail, but Luden's Echo in there for the extra burst, extra move speed, and AP as well.
Yeah.
Kind of interested to see how he's going to continue this. You can see the extra needlessly large rod in the inventory, meaning heavy AP is still the plan.
Yeah, you assume that the next item is Death Cap, and then after that, Void Staff as 4th item. But no, because nobody's really going to have heavy magic resistance on the enemy team early, so you can delay your Void Staff. I know I've been watching a lot of Korean builds, and they usually go Void Staff 3rd, 4th if you absolutely have to. But it feels like around that 3rd item point, people have enough MR just like naturally and like scaling up, etc., to the point that it becomes
It's
worth
valuable,
it, 'cause
right.
it's full in terms, it's full penetration, right? It's not, you know, bonus.
Right. Spectre's Cal also done now on Someday, so a little bit of extra magic resistance sprinkled in there to make sure that he's tankier against the AP threats of both Bjergsen and Svenskeren. The flat penetration being stacked by Svenskeren as well. Well, not really stacked, but still applied through the
Another pick.
Biofrost.
Transit.
They get him on his way through the journey. It's still magical enough to escape, but he's low HP. He's not in a spot to contribute too much until he gets back and heals. TSM lucky to have their support alive from that one, but they do get him out.
Infernal Drake, though, up in 15 seconds. Baron up in 30, so you really want to take this on spawn with the Malzahar as well.
Bjergsen eats the Sonic Wave. Shrimp is going to find himself Tempered Fate locked up. If they can catch the jungler, that's big, because then the Dragon is not a desirable objective. The Repel gets Sven away for now. Big gonna be taken low. Malzahar ulti in. Haunter gonna be the target, but he's so very tanky. Shrimp trying to run. Somebody's gonna block it. Laud, the hero, saves his jungler and the potential to find this Infernal Drake. Someday's gonna be zoning. Big off the back, and that's a Dignitas Infernal Drake.
It's not over just yet. They're going to back up, and that might be a rush for the Baron. You have to keep somebody on the map. They're going to shove mid, and then they might go for that Baron. So Someday hasn't backed. He's healthy. He's going to go for the clear on mid, but he can't check.
TSM do not make the call to go for the Baron. With Ashe on your team, you have that safety check option with the Hawk shot. They can fire that in there, see there's no rush, take their time, regroup, play this one slow.
And they're all just chilling here. It's not going to do much.
I mean, that was a cool cocoon, but
yeah,
sadly, there was no follow-up.
Your top lane is getting shoved in as TSM. They need somebody to clear top, and Haunter's going to be the one to do it now.
He does have the TP.
Teleport.
Yeah, he's got the TP, but the problem is no Dominus for 25 seconds.
Yeah, and that bottom lane is going to start slow shoving towards them as well. Just ever so slowly.
Haunter clears that out incredibly quickly and now decides to join the rest of the team to face off and not let Dig sneak another one of these.
Somebody actually did go for a build that includes Spirit Visage as his third item, so it's not all in on that damage. There's no Death Stance here, and it doesn't look like one's going to be coming out either because he has a BF sword. Thinking Guardian
Angel. Yeah, Guardian Angel, maybe Death's Dance or some other form of healing as the final item. Make use of that Spirit Visage bonus that much more. Of course, you're already getting a lot from Ravenous Hydra and from your Vitals.
Yeah, but now he gets the face check because they're a tankless composition, but he can walk up like this, zone people out. And now Someday is really just pushing him out. Where's Svenskeren? He's hunting down Sven. He's saying, no, just keep
Svenskeren away. The arrow gets fired off. Svenskeren's forced to repel. A Tempered Fate going to be buying a little bit of time. Baron is low, and that is secured by Dignitas. Now TSM has to retreat. They don't want to lose anybody on this. Dominus already popped. Shrimp eats the ace in the hole. Haunter still has the ulti active. It's going to deactivate momentarily. There you go. Someday in the top lane. Might be able to find double lift here. This is catastrophe if it ends up working.
Whoa.
Double is so low. Someday nearly destroying him in an instant.
It's like, wait for reinforcements there. Almost just obliterated him.
It cost double lift his flash, though. That's very important. You're sieging up against a Caitlyn. If she doesn't have flash, playmaking opportunities are now available that previously weren't.
Does have QSS, though, so you have to find some way to lock him down. And Someday recheck.
Ooh, a Spider and a Gator both waiting. Can he get away from this? But he's got a lot of healing potential through those Vitals. If he can actually turn this around.
He might. I was like, Sven, don't go in there.
Yeah, Sven's.
He'll just get Q to the other side of you and actually just kill you. But yeah, the way that when I talked about that bottom wave was going to slow push out towards TSM, that's what made Dignitas do the Baron, because somebody's going to get pulled down there. Bjergsen got pulled down there. He has the teleport, but then they also sent Someday to go after Sven to double check to make sure. So the setup of the Baron was a map-wide play that was beautifully executed by Dignitas. Seriously, this team does not look like the way that they did in spring, especially the early parts.
Let's go ahead and put the broken record back on that we keep repeating. Communication, communication, communication. The name of the game for this team, the process, all that good stuff. It's paying off. Well, the team plays as a unit.
Yeah,
now, Laud, almost getting caught out there. Lucky he had the flash.
Yeah, you talk about the process, and it's usually don't replace people, trust the process. It's going to work out.
Right.
This team has 2 new people on it, with Shrimp making his debut for Dignitas, and then Big. And both of which have actually been very critical in their wins.
TSM will continue holding the line at this tier 2. That line of traps from the Caitlyn has done its job so far, but the problem is You can only build that line in one lane at a time. And Someday with the Guardian Angel as that next item, as we were predicting, now pushing down the top side.
Yeah, most gold in the game is Someday right now running around. And then Bjergsen completing his death cap. So he'll be looking for...
Bjergsen's still deathless.
Yeah, still deathless. But like you said with the QSS tax, kind of the big thing there is when you're an AP champion, Mercurial Scimitar is not good for you late game.
It feels bad.
It feels bad, man. Now he's going to have Void Staff, and he's going to have nothing else on top of that. So he's approaching full build, or what it will be his effective probe.
His auto attack is going to hurt.
Full build. You got me there.
Just trying to find some silver linings as Keen not going to find a silver lining out of this one. Tries to drop the ulti, but the Doom Jacuzzi will not be enough. He gets picked off, but it does buy enough time for the rest of Dignitas to find that tier 2 in the mid lane. At least get that for themselves.
Yeah. The bummer here for Dignitas is that they don't get to set up the Elder Dragon with everybody now. And TSM now have some breathing room. 39 seconds on Keen, with the Elder Dragon coming up in 1 minute and 10. So you're looking at a position where you may have to actually force your way into this pit.
And Baron's going to expire before Keen gets back up, so the Baron buff usage is essentially almost done.
Yeah, they did get that bottom turret, though. Someday's going to back before this expires on the Baron buff. Reset, run out. Looks like it'll be Death Stance as his last item here. I see the Caulfield's Warhammer. It's that, or it could be Maw, but I assume it's the Death Stance because it's just so powerful on her.
It's ridiculously good on Fiora. Plus, that caps you off on your CDR. You're at 40%. You have that much more healing. It's a defensive, pseudo-defensive item as well.
Yeah, all around just super good item for him.
But Elder Drake, though, remember, Zyrene, the past 2 games have ended there. Yep. Will this one tell the same story? Haunter over the wall, looking for maybe a chance to get a stun, but has to play this very safely. They are down 7,000 gold on the side of TSM.
Yeah,
Fights have to be smart.
And the Drakes haven't really been in their favor either. 2 Oceans with the Infernal and the Mountain. When you have a split push comp, you definitely want that Mountain. And when you have Fiora, that Infernal's going to be great on top of it.
Power play not quite as strong as last time around, 3,600 instead of 4,200. Still something to be happy about. Dignitas making good use out of those. Now moving down towards that Elder Drake. Lod stepping out of the Tempered Fate, not too worried about it. Arrow comes through, not finding the mark. Someday off in the flank. And TSM, they're forced away, and Dignitas make the call. They say, hey, let's go for Elder. Gotta grab big about TSM though. TSM is not willing to give this up without a fight. Stranglethorn's going to be put down to buy a little bit more time.
They gotta
fill on the Drake. They gotta try to do it. They've got the Drake, but what can they do now? Keen is dead. Haunter gonna be soaking some damage. And Someday has made his entrance. Haunter's gonna be cut down next. Someday on this Fiora has hit late game. He's got the triple kill, and TSM will fall. Dignitas march on the base.
They have a minion wave top. They have one about to push mid. They're going to either just take the whole base here with those 40-second death timers, or they're just going to leave it in complete shambles. I feel like they go for broke here. They try to end it 2-1.
They've got the chance. They've got the damage. They break the inhibitor turret instantly. Inhibitor goes the same way as well. Biofrost has to be some kind of a miracle worker. Dignitas has Nexus turret number 1. Nexus turret number 2 is gone, and Dignitas will go to a perfect 3-0 record.
And Keen with the tears of joy this game, filling up the inventory. Everybody across the board played well this game for Dignitas. They played to their composition's strengths, and they ran TSM all around the map.
What a showing from Dignitas, a team that remembers Zyrene, started off Spring Split 2017 1-7. Not what you would expect from this roster on paper. It was a conversation people had so many times. What's going wrong when you've got star power like Someday? What's happening with this team? Why is it not working? And they said, you gotta wait. It's a process, you gotta trust us, it's going to get there. We have to work on the communication, work on the team play. And now, in summer, we're getting to see the fruits of that labor, and this team looks good.
They definitely look good. I love the way that they set up these objectives, and they also have the mechanics to back it up in their lane. Someday played disgustingly well. 5-1-7 this game. Highest kill participation as a split pushing top laner who just joined all of the fights with teleport. I talked about how he was #1 in kill participation for top laners coming into this match, and it was a 78-ish%. That's insane. That's what you see for supports who are playing shielding supports. That's
They're
a
part of
high
every
number.
fight, right?
Exactly. The team is playing around him. He's getting those solo kills. The only death he had this game was that time that Hanser outplayed him in the top lane.
Someday, with a phenomenal performance, Dignitas as a whole doing what needed to be done. And you mentioned earlier, Zyrene, you were talking about strength of schedule, how Dignitas won both games in week number 1, but they weren't against the strongest teams in the league. And people were saying, yeah, Diggs 2-0, do they really belong there? I guess we're going to find out. You beat TSM. You don't get the strength of schedule questions.
And you beat them like this as well, because the way that Shrimp just controlled the early game, he made a fool out of Svenskeren multiple times, and then it transitioned to he's so far behind, he's trying things. He gets caught out by multiple arrows, and that was really kind of the leverage here that they were able to pull. Is this top lane and jungle from TSM got destroyed.
Yeah.
Someday was able to just run all over Hanser in the mid-late game and wasn't able to actually do much in that lane, and then that Elise was just completely shut down. And I feel like Dignitas just across the board, you could keep going on about this team because they just keep looking better and better. This is not that early spring split Dignitas that we saw.
And we even saw close fights between Someday and Hanser early on. Hanser actually got the 1v1 first blood, then Someday turns around, gets a 1v1 revenge kill. But it's the nature of the game. Renekton is strong earlier on. Fiora will be stronger later. Someday was willing to make that bet, saying, I can survive, I can outscale, and I can win. Look what he did.
Yeah, it's why I went a little bit crazy in the champion select. The Shen ban was really strange, and they tried to pinch the Cassiopeia as the counter to the mid lane, but if they're going to play something like Karma there, I feel like you just ban the Fiora because the Renekton was already shown. When you pick your top laner, third pick, red side, you should ban 2 top laners that counter that one, or that at least outscale it, or do really well. And I feel like they dropped the ball there slightly because they tried to pinch mid lane, but I don't feel like you were losing these games from mid lane at all.
No, Bjergsen did a lot for his team. Bjergsen always had a strong presence every single game. You can see he only had his only death in game number 3 was at the very, very end. After all was said and done, that final fight was the one time that he dropped. He tried what he could, but the rest of the team, especially what you said, Svenskeren and Hanser, despite Hanser's strong start with the first blood, it didn't work out, and Svenskeren just seemed to go down a road to ruin and couldn't find his way back.
Yeah, it was very heavily controlled by the Hawk shots as well as the Ash arrows from Laud. And that's kind of interesting because that's not a stat that's really going to show up too much for Laud, maybe in assists, etc. But it's really, he didn't play very well throughout the series from like a standpoint of stat lines. But when you look at how he contributed to the team in engages and Ash arrows, then Laud actually did a lot of work for the team. And I feel like that's kind of how things have slotted in for Dignitas, is Someday can play those carries and it looks great. Shrimp has those early advantages. And then you have Keen, who's got those stable counter picks for yourself in mid or knows all these oddball champions and can play whatever your composition needs. But then this bottom lane is just super intriguing to me because Laud can play those engages. Even if he's down like 1,400 gold, he still gets your team gold elsewhere. He may be losing the laning phase, etc., but they're winning the game off of some of his plays. And I do have to give a shout out to Big. Highest damage in the game, only about 50 or so above what Someday did. But the way that he plays the game when he's on Braum, he's willing to die every time he jumps in to save Shrimp so he can smite, to save somebody on his team. And that's the way he's been playing, is he gives himself away so that you can have that carry live. And in the Zyra game, he was, like when that Elder Dragon was being done, he was rooting, walking forward, putting himself at risk to potentially die there to get a Grasping Root off, to get a Stranglethorn, to allow the smite to come through. So Big also has been stepping up here, and Dignitas just looked like a well-oiled machine in this series.
Yeah, plenty of trust in the team when you know that you can say, look, I'll bite the bullet here. I know my team is going to follow up. They'll make the win happen.